Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule and Virtual TrekCon presents the Star Trek Las Vegas Pre-Con Con with Sirach Lofton. My name is Ryan
Hello.
T. Husk, and today, right now, everybody, the man that truly lives after his name, Mr. John Champion, is here of Roddenberry.com, of Mission Log, all that kind of stuff. What's up, John? How are
Thank
you
you.
today?
It's good to be here. I'm doing all right. And Sirach is, we're on Zoom, and when Ryan introduced you, just a big smile but no voice. Like I was hoping the camera would jump over to you. But good to see you both. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. No, I'm always waiting for Ryan to mess up the intro.
Yeah, it's kind of a
a bad
terrible
take.
inside joke that I have survived valiantly throughout.
He keeps making it, so every time I'm just like, he survived this time. No, he did a great job.
Fix it in post.
Thank
Fix
you.
it in post. Whatever it is. Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's just get into it, John. A lot of
Yeah.
people recognize your face. A lot of people recognize your names. They definitely recognize the names like Mission Log and Roddenberry Entertainment, Roddenberry Networks. They know what that means.
Oh, that little thing. Yeah.
Can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about what you do just on the day-to-day?
Yeah. I'm kind of the podcast arm of Roddenberry Entertainment. There are podcasts that I don't have anything to do with, but the majority of the shows, particularly the ones that are sci-fi and Star Trek oriented, I either produce or host or both, and been doing that in earnest for 11 years.
Whoa.
And prior to that, with Rod, shot a bunch of archival interviews. I mean, we knocked through 100 or so in the lead up to the 50th anniversary back in 2016. And I've had my hand in some of the archival work that we do. I've had my hand in some of the VR work that we've done, just a little bit of everything. And that all stemmed from a friendship that I had with Rod back before I even moved to LA. I was producing my own shows out of Chicago, and that led me through fandom circles kind of back to Star Trek. Because I grew up as a Star Trek fan as a kid, and that was that and Star Wars and James Bond and Indiana Jones. Like these were all in my wheelhouse, right? And I kind of, my fandom would sort of wander around depending on whatever was hot at the moment. And then I ended up at the 2006 40th anniversary convention in Vegas, met Rod. We ended up exchanging information. I did some little editing gigs for him, and we just kind of stayed in touch. And fast forward a few years, and I said, "Hey, I'm thinking I might move to LA. Would you have more work for me if I did?" And sure enough, kind of welcomed me with open arms. And then at some point, he turned it back on me, and he was like, "Hey, I just finished this documentary about my father. Now I want somebody to examine Star Trek the way that I examined Gene Roddenberry. So go." And we weren't sure at the time if that would take the form of a documentary or a blog or a podcast or what. And we landed on podcast and just sort of had this idea that what if we went one by one, and we're very specific with the mission, which is pick apart Star Trek episode by episode for the ideas, the philosophy, the heart. There's a lot of shows that do behind the scenes. There's a lot of shows that do comedy. There's a lot of shows that have their angle, but this was the angle that was important to Rod. It was like, if we say Star Trek's important and his father's message was important, what is that message? And how much does Star Trek live up to that? Season by season, episode by episode, series by series, and there's no end to it in sight. This is a bit of job security in that respect. Yeah.
So you really started getting into podcasting before people were podcasting. I mean,
it's weird because, okay, in Chicago, like this tells you the progression of all of us who create media, right? So in Chicago, I was producing a TV show. And then that became like a satellite-driven and mobile marketing show. It would end up in like buses and subways and all these other places, right? And then that turned into, there were all these steps along the way, and eventually we ended up with live internet radio. And I was like, okay, this is new, this is fun, we'll do that, supplement it with video. And then it just became like, well, we should just be doing this as a podcast. And that was early days of podcasting. So it was a natural fit that I was doing that. And then I could just say, oh, okay, well, everything I learned from doing that, we'll just bring over to Mission Log. And my partner at the time had a similar, not the same, but a similar journey. So we knew a few things about podcasting. But as you both know, like even that world keeps changing. And you keep kind of trying to catch up and stay a little bit ahead of the curve. Like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that video would be as important an element with podcasting as it is now. You know, here we are looking at each other. This is a video that exists out there on its own, and we do that with our show, but then that audio element is kind of the heart of it that exists out there in its own place. So, you know, you're always trying to change a little bit to keep up with what your audience wants.
Yeah.
So, John, you said your first time going to Star Trek Las Vegas was what year? 2006?
2006, yeah, but definitely not my first convention. I mean, when I was a kid growing up in the South, we were just talking about this before you hit record, Atlanta was the big city next door, and that's where all the really cool conventions were. And it was, you know, Star Trek and Doctor Who and you know, Bond and original Batman and all kinds of, it all went through Atlanta. So my fandom was really stoked there. And then Star Trek Vegas came up, and I just saw it on the calendar. I was like, you know, if we want to shoot a bunch of stuff with a bunch of fans who are passionate about it, we should go to this. Like this is going to be the Super Bowl of conventions. So we got to go.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we did, because it kicked off a lot of friendships, a lot of professional contacts. And as you both know, that show has a lot of heart to it. You know, people go back to see their friends every year. That's what I love.
Tell us a little bit about working with Rod Roddenberry. I mean, he's such a nice guy. I think he's
it's like a disaster. It's a complete, utter disaster.
What a nightmare.
He's such a sweetheart. And I just, you know, I know working with him would probably be a dream, because he seems like he'd be one of the, you know, best people to work alongside with, because he doesn't have the kind of micromanaging type of energy that I've seen other places.
It's pretty great. I mean, it's always a weird dynamic when you work with your friends, because one of those relationships will take precedence. You know, it's like, okay, now we're talking as friends, but now we're talking as business partners. You know, and we're both by nature pretty nice to each other, and just, you know, we respect the friendship as well, and he respects the work that I do. As you both know, Rod is almost nice to a fault. So instead of giving me a note like, oh my God, this part, I listened to this and it sucked and you have to change it, you know, he'll come back and he'll say like, you know, I was listening and I might be wrong. I might be right. You tell me, it's up to you. But I thought maybe you want to tweak this and do this a little bit differently, but it's up to you. It's up to you. And I'm like, no, okay. If that's the one note I'm getting in a year, I'll pay attention to it.
Yeah, you know? There's something behind there. And he is so sweet. He delivers it in a way where it's like, look, I'm not trying to, you know, I'm totally cognizant of your feelings right now. And he's so good at that. And it's just really a sweetheart. He is a sweet person. And I couldn't think of a better person to kind of work alongside with, especially doing something that you're so passionate about when it comes to Star Trek, you know?
Right. And honestly, and that really is the thing, because we started Mission Log. We knew that we weren't going to get rich from it. And the earliest, I know, right? Shocking. Yeah. And in the earliest days of it, we even, like, he didn't want to have ads. He didn't want to have ads on the website, you know, like no buttons or anything. We were very hesitant to do Patreon. He didn't want to do any of that, because he didn't want to give the impression that this was a money grab, or anything. And at a certain point, it's like, okay, look, you got 2 hosts, you got an editor, we have these other shows we want to do. We have to do something, because it can't just constantly be a drain for you to have this kind of, special project, special to you and your heart. But it still takes work. We still got to do it,
Right.
So hey, look, there's our website right there. Even the website, like that took somebody a lot of hours to program
Looks
and
sharp.
figure out how to make it. Yeah, yeah. And what's fun, like if you refresh it, it cycles through the kind of 24th century color schemes. Oh, is it not doing it now?
Oh,
It'll go from like the maroon to the gold to the
Fun.
science blue.
nice.
Yeah. And if you go to a TOS episode, the whole scheme changes. Yeah, see, there you go. Now you have the science blue.
Brilliant.
And if you do TOS, then it's a totally different layout. So yeah,
wow.
it's happening. It's happening.
Well, John, while you were talking about how great it is to work with Rod, it was reminding me that we need to let everybody know how great it is working or talking with you. I've known you for about
very
2
kind.
years now. Feels like forever. But
honestly, it does, because I think you and I both, seriously, we have danced in these circles that kind of overlap a little,
absolutely.
and didn't really get to know each other, but certainly
until I think it was
more
two
time.
Las Vegases ago, so just about 2
Yeah.
years ago. But
yeah.
you are extremely professional and friendly,
Thanks.
which is a very tough thing to juggle. It's a tough 2 different ingredients. You're professional, you're communicative, you're intelligent, you're fun and friendly. And I just want people to know I don't work with John Champion. I'm saying this because it's true, not because I have to, but everybody that has worked with him or just peripherally that's just had dealings with you. I speak for everybody when I say you're an absolute treasure in the Star Trek community. You're just, I'm very happy for you that you are, getting engrossed in this community and in Roddenberry. But I do want to say that it's well deserved, not just because of your skills, but because of who you are as a person personally. So thank you for doing that.
I am incredibly humbled and flattered. And as you know, the last several weeks have not been easy for me personally. And hearing something like that is extraordinarily kind. But honestly, it speaks to the nature of what we do, because I'm talking to a couple of people right now about whom I could say the same thing. You're both stand-up guys who have been a pleasure to be around at any time that I've been around you. And there's something about this community and about the way we place ourselves in it that it is very easy to remind yourself, even though what we do is a job to a great extent, and you're always working on like logistics of getting it done and doing the show and making the production happen, it's very easy to remind yourself, because of the nature of this community, that there are real people on the other end. And they are excited and gracious and grateful, and they want to be there, and they want to be a piece of this. And the fact that we 3 get to be a part of that and sort of adopt that as part of our found family, that is a real treasure. That is the kind of thing that, even if I wasn't doing this because it's part of my job, I would just want to be around that. I want to be around that positive vibe. We all work really hard, and especially at a convention, we work really hard. And you go back to your hotel room and you are exhausted, but then you want to go do it the next day. And then that Monday rolls around, and you're like, I don't get to do this again for another year, or go on a cruise or whatever. But there is something truly energizing about that. And the friends that I have made in that community are absolutely genuine.
I want to second what Ryan said, because I every time I walk away from a conversation with you, John, I think, man, that guy is really cool. He's so professional. You're so well spoken. You leave a positive impression every time I walk away from our conversations. I feel positivity. You are a class act, and it just tells me that you were raised right as a child. Your upbringing It all reflects on how you carry yourself. And it's always a pleasure to see you and have an engagement with you, because you do have this level of professionalism, this etiquette, this articulation, and it's infectious. So I want to say that that's the same impression I've gotten from you over the years. And it always like, I would love to work with that guy someday. That's the feeling you get. And
yeah,
I know why Rod, walked away with the same feeling and decided on absolutely taking the opportunity to work with you, because that is something that you give off when they meet you. So yeah, kudos to you and your upbringing and the man that you are and how you represent yourself, how you carry yourself. It's one of the special things that people can always say good about you, John.
I really appreciate that.
And
look,
right now,
again, the love fest is mutual. And this conversation is just the beginning, because I expect to see a lot more of you guys in my future. All right?
Thank goodness.
We're not going anywhere. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're trying hard enough.
Las Vegas.
Good.
Looking forward to it. But right now, people that are listening in, they're saying, wow, John Champion sounds freaking amazing. I sure hope I can run into him at Star Trek Las Vegas. Where and how can I find this guy? Is he just doing like one little thing that I have to find with a fine-tooth comb, or is he everywhere? What's his story?
So our home base will be the Roddenberry Interactive Stage. And for those who have come to Vegas in the past, may have had a lot of trouble finding us last year, but this year back at the Rio, a bit easier to find us. You've got the main creation stage, you have the secondary stage, but if you go into Jimmy's Bar, we've kind of taken that over as our lounge area. And we really do like to think of our stage as this relaxing, casual, above all, interactive kind of lounge space. Come in, have a drink, and we'll be programming that stage all day long. Now, I know for a fact that I'll be doing either the morning show or a happy hour, either each day. We don't know yet if it'll be the morning show or a happy hour, but something will be happening. And that's like our talk show. It's me and Jessica Lynn Verdi, open a few bottles of Star Trek wine, chat. But she makes fun of me. It's great. So that's a good show to go to. We'll be having some topical stuff. I know we're going to do some Orville themed conversations on that stage. I know that we'll have Trektivism, where we're talking about Star Trek as a force for good in the world. People who are motivated by their fandom to do things like raise money for, helping the homeless or pancreatic cancer, all these causes that are near and dear to the Star Trek community. And then every year, pretty much, I wrap up on Sunday with the match game. And my favorite part of that is, you got your celebrity guests on stage. You got your John Billingsley, you got your Cirroc Lofton, you got whoever will fit up on that stage in the celebrity panel. And then I just completely make up things about them and hope that they can roll along with it. Ooh, so come to that. And Roddenberry Interactive Stage is the home base. Online home base is roddenberry.com and podcast.roddenberry.com. And here's the best thing, like we're doing live updates throughout the convention. So there we are, roddenberry.com. And if you follow any of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, I think we're on Threads now, Instagram, all of those, our social media director and her team are really great about saying like, hey, tomorrow, here's the lineup in the Roddenberry stage, or coming up in an hour, it's this show, that show, that. So that's the best way to get those up to the minute. And I almost forgot, wine tasting.
Ooh.
So everybody who's going to be at Vegas, like, do not miss the opportunity. Tickets will be limited, but they'll be free, and we'll get a word out about how to do that. But yeah, with the guys from Star Trek Wines who've been very good to us, they'll be doing a tasting. You can come in and try out everything they got.
All Cirroc and I need is a bottle and 2 straws. We're good.
I want like a Norman Rockwell painting of you too, with a bottle of Canar and 2 straws. That's what I want.
Yes, that's perfect. Well, you had me at wine, so I mean that's That's enough for me.
You know a thing or two about wine, absolutely.
I do. I do.
Oh, that's a whole other conversation we need to have someday. Yeah.
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 I'm not as good as Casey, but I know a little bit,
Very cool.
But looks like it's going to be an exciting week. I guess it used to be a weekend, but now it's almost a week.
Yeah, for real.
And it's going to be great because, all of our Star Trek families there, the friends are there. We all look forward to it every year. And you guys put on such a good show. It's going to be great.
There's a lot yet to be determined. And as we get closer to that date, I'll know a lot more, and we'll be sharing stuff on your live stream on Sunday once there's confirmation in place. One thing that I do know, Norman and I like to do kind of intimate topical things. So we'll announce something about that, but it's always about like, what are controversies that Star Trek fans are kind of dealing with in the fandom or in the shows that they watch or whatever. So we'll do something like that. But I am really proud this year that the host of our Orville podcast, Mission Log the Orville, Mike Richards, Jessica Lynn Verdi, they're the ones who are moderating the official Orville panel at STLV.
Awesome.
So they're doing that, and they are great. They're just so awesome, and I'm proud of our whole team that does stuff for Mission Log. Like I'm honored that anybody actually helps me in the way that they do, because these are all very talented people, and to see them on our main stage will be awesome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. As soon as you said like there are potential, problems within the fan community or my first thought was, I wonder how people are going to take Orville. And then you said, like the Orville. And guys, I really hope that there aren't any problems with having the Orville on, like any fans are going to be snooty about it. Hey, it's as well as, not instead of. And it's going to be a great time. Everybody associated with the Orville seems amazing. The podcast associated with it, fantastic. I'm going to be there. I'm going to watch the shit out of that panel, and I'm looking forward to the moderators there. They come highly regarded, apparently.
They're so great.
Look, John, this has been so much fun having you. We do appreciate you taking the time. Everybody at home, it's missionlogpodcast.com and Roddenberry.com, with all these changing colors everywhere. You're going to love it, but especially go to the Roddenberry stage at Star Trek Las Vegas. They always have tons of stuff. You'll find yourself just kind of hanging out there. It's pretty chill. It's fun. It's great.
Yeah, it's a chill vibe in there.
Yeah. That was like the blessing and the curse of last year when we were at Bally's and we were up on that floor. The thing is, people would have a really hard time finding the stage, right? But then they found it, and they didn't want to leave. They just camp out all day, again, get their drinks. And they just
26th floor.
We would have no show on the stage. We'd be like lunch break or whatever. People like, we just will stay here. Like, keep the lights off. That's all right. We'll drink. We'll hang out. So it's all very cool. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Ryan, thank you for the plug. I'll also just mention, if people go to roddenberry.com, click on the podcast tab, or if they go to podcast.roddenberry.com, just as the subdomain, that's where everything is listed. And with everything there are just tons of little sub links. So like if you prefer to subscribe through Stitcher or, Amazon podcasts or whatever, you'll find all of them there. So all of our podcasts will be available. And like we were talking earlier, a bunch of those have moved over to a video component as well. So, so you'll find them all there.
Wow. That's great.
Hey, there he is. There's a man of the hour. Love it.
Wow, that is so great.
Excellent.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in Vegas and partying with everybody and having my drinks and enjoying the ambiance, as they say.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, look, Larry Nemechek and I, for the last 13, maybe this is the 14th year, I don't know, do the unofficial landing party.
Wednesday
night
before
the convention,
right?
Yeah.
Wednesday night, August 2nd. Was it 9 o'clock, I believe?
I believe so. Yeah. People kind of migrate over there throughout the evening.
At the Masquerade?
At the Masquerade, yeah. And then starting at 9, trivia prizes, all that stuff. And it's a total gimmick because we know people are going there anyway.
At the masquerade bar, what are you talking about?
I know, right? But back in the day when we were all over the Hilton, everybody hang out at Space Quest.
Yep.
And we were just like, well, for everybody who gets here early, let's do a thing. Let's bring stuff to give away and make it a little more organized, but not much. It's just a good time. Yeah.
People love the Rio. It's because it's so familiar and everybody knows, it's just comfortable. It's intimate. And I think people are going to be really looking forward to going back to the Rio this year.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like when I retire, I just want to move to the masquerade bar. I don't need to drink there. I could be like on the floor level and just kind of sitting, just kind of watching and just like eating a pineapple or something with the skin. I don't know. Anyway.
Can you imagine that? Like if that happened in your real life, like every time you were going from work back home, you just passed by the neighborhood bar and there were 200 of your closest friends there, just all like calling your name and waving you to come in and have a drink. Like that is truly magical when that happens. Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
Powerful.
Yeah. All I need is
inescapable.
All I need is 195 more friends, and I'm there.
You're set.
Anyway, look, everybody, it's John Champion. We will see you at Star Trek Las Vegas. He'll be there.
Yes.
Go to the Roddenberry stage. Go to roddenberry.com. Check everything out. Mr. John Champion, thank you so much for joining us.
Guys, a real pleasure. Thank you both, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Looking forward to seeing you.
Everybody at home, we will see you soon. Is that a good ending? I don't know.
That's good.